Long ago, in the heart of the mighty Persian Empire, where golden palaces glittered beneath the desert sun and kings ruled from marble thrones, there lived a young woman whose courage would change the fate of a nation. Her name was Esther, a name that would echo through history as a symbol of faith, wisdom, and divine providence. The story begins in the reign of King Ahasuerus, ruler of 127 provinces stretching from India to Ethiopia. His empire was vast, his wealth unmatched, and his authority absolute. The royal city of Susa shone like a jewel amid the sands, a city of towering gates, mosaic walls, and scented gardens overflowing with date palms and fountains. In the third year of his reign, the king summoned nobles, princes, and military commanders from across the realm for a great feast. For 180 days, he displayed the splendor of his kingdom, golden cups filled with wine, fine linens of purple and blue, and banquets that glowed with torchlight and laughter. At the height of his pride, King Ahasuerus called for his queen, Vashti, commanding her to appear before his guests so that they might behold her beauty. But Vashti refused, a bold act in a world where kings were seldom defied. Enraged, the king's pride burned like fire. On the advice of his counselors, he stripped Vashti of her crown, declaring that her disobedience would set a dangerous example for women throughout the empire. Thus began a search for a new queen, one who would be obedient, graceful, and worthy of the throne. In the bustling streets of Susa lived a humble Jewish family among the exiles carried away from Jerusalem. A man named Mordecai, from the tribe of Benjamin, had raised his orphaned cousin Hadassah, known by her Persian name, Esther. She was a young woman of striking beauty and gentle spirit, but her true strength lay not in her appearance but in her wisdom, faith, and quiet courage. When the royal decree went out to gather young maidens from every province, Esther was taken into the palace and placed under the care of Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the women. Though surrounded by luxury, Esther remained humble. She listened carefully, spoke kindly, and carried herself with grace. Her humility and kindness won the favor of all who saw her, including Haggai himself, who provided her with fine food, servants, and the best apartments. Mordecai visited the palace gates daily, longing for news of Esther. He warned her not to reveal her Jewish heritage, for the times were uncertain and prejudice against her people still lingered. After 12 months of preparation, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 with perfumes, each maiden was presented before the king. When Esther's turn came, she asked for nothing beyond what Haggai advised. Her beauty shone, but it was her inner peace that captivated the king. When Ahasuerus looked upon her, his heart was moved. He placed the royal crown upon her head, declaring her queen of Persia. The city rejoiced, feasting and celebrating the rise of their new queen. Yet deep within the palace walls, Esther remained faithful to her roots, never forgetting Mordecai's counsel or the God of her people. Not long after Esther's coronation, Mordecai uncovered a secret plot. 2 of the king's guards, Bigthan and Teresh, conspired to assassinate Ahasuerus. Mordecai quickly sent word to Esther, who warned the king in Mordecai's name. The matter was investigated, the plot confirmed, and the conspirators executed. Mordecai's name was recorded in the royal chronicles, though at the time, no reward was given. Time passed, and a new figure rose to prominence in the Persian court, Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite. The king promoted him above all other nobles, granting him authority and wealth. By decree, all who passed by him were to bow in respect. But Mordecai, who served daily at the palace gate, refused to bow. He would not give divine honor to a man. This act of defiance enraged Haman, whose pride was as vast as his ambition. Learning that Mordecai was a Jew, he sought revenge, not only against Mordecai but against all Jews throughout the empire. He approached the king with cunning words. "There is a certain people," he said, "scattered among your provinces, whose laws differ from those of every nation. It is not in your interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will contribute 10,000 talents of silver to the royal treasury." The king, trusting his advisor, gave Haman his signet ring and authority to act. Couriers raced through the empire, carrying letters sealed with the king's name. On the 13th day of the month of Adar, every Jew, young and old, man and woman, was to be destroyed. When the decree reached the provinces, mourning spread among the Jewish people. Sackcloth and ashes filled the streets. Mordecai tore his garments and wept at the palace gates. Word soon reached Esther of his distress, and she sent garments to clothe him, but he refused them. Through messengers, Mordecai sent Esther the decree and pleaded with her, "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone will escape. If you remain silent, deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your family will perish. Who knows but that you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Those words pierced Esther's heart. She knew the law: anyone who approached the king unsummoned risked death unless he extended his golden scepter. Yet her conscience would not allow silence. She sent word back to Mordecai, "Go, gather all the Jews in Susa. Fast for me for 3 days, do not eat or drink. I and my maidens will do the same. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law. If I perish, I perish." 3 days of fasting passed. The city of Susa lay under a veil of sorrow. Then, at dawn on the 3rd day, Esther dressed in royal robes. Her face reflected both fear and faith. As she walked through the vast marble hall toward the throne, the courtiers held their breath. The king, seeing her approach, was moved by her grace and courage. He extended the golden scepter. "What is it, Queen Esther?" he asked. "What is your request?" "Even to half my kingdom, it shall be granted." Esther bowed. "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared." The banquet was rich with wine and music. The king, pleased with Esther, asked again what her request might be. But Esther only smiled and said, "If I have found favor in your sight, let the king and Haman come again tomorrow to another banquet. Then I will reveal my petition." Haman left the feast proud and intoxicated by his power. Yet as he passed the palace gate, his joy turned to fury when he saw Mordecai refusing to bow. His wife, Zeresh, and his friends advised him, "Build a gallows 75 feet high, and in the morning, ask the king to hang Mordecai upon it." That night, Haman's servants built the gallows, a monstrous structure that rose above the rooftops of Susa. But that same night, the king could not sleep. He called for the royal records to be read to him. As the scrolls unrolled, he heard of Mordecai's act, the man who had once saved his life. "What honor has been given to this man?" the king asked. "None, my lord," the servants replied. Just then, Haman entered, eager to ask for Mordecai's death. The king asked him first, what should be done for the man the king delights to honor. Believing the king spoke of him, Haman answered grandly, "Let him be clothed in royal robes, set upon the king's horse, and paraded through the city with a crown upon his head." The king smiled. "Then do so for Mordecai the Jew." Haman's face turned pale, but he could not refuse. That day, he led Mordecai through the streets, shouting words of honor for the man he despised. Humiliated and trembling, Haman returned home. But before he could recover, messengers arrived, summoning him to Esther's second banquet. There, amid the golden lamps and perfumed air, the king once more asked, "What is your petition, Queen Esther?" "It shall be granted you." Esther rose, her eyes calm yet filled with power. "If I have found favor, O king, let my life be spared, and the lives of my people. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed and annihilated." The king's face darkened. "Who is he that dares presume to do this thing?" Esther pointed across the table. "The adversary is this wicked Haman." Haman fell to his knees, trembling. The king, enraged, stormed into the garden. When he returned, Haman had thrown himself upon Esther's couch, pleading for mercy. The king saw and shouted, "Will he even assault the queen in my own house?" Guards seized Haman immediately. One of the eunuchs spoke, "Behold, a gallows stands at Haman's house, the one he built for Mordecai. Hang him on it," the king commanded. That day, Haman was executed on the very gallows he had prepared for another. Mordecai was brought before the king, and Esther revealed his relation to her. The king gave Mordecai his signet ring, and he became second in authority over the empire. Yet the decree against the Jews could not be revoked, for Persian law was irrevocable. So the king permitted Mordecai to issue a new decree: the Jews might defend themselves on the appointed day. Couriers raced across the provinces once more, but this time carrying words of hope. When the day of destruction arrived, the enemies of the Jews found themselves defeated. The people of God prevailed, and their sorrow was turned into joy. Mordecai and Esther decreed that the victory be celebrated each year, a feast of remembrance called Purim. Years passed, and Queen Esther continued to reign with dignity beside Mordecai. She never sought power or revenge, only peace for her people. Her courage had saved a nation, not by sword or army, but by wisdom, humility, and unshakable faith in divine providence. And so her story endures, a reminder that even in exile, even in silence, God's purpose never sleeps. Through one woman's bravery, the hand of heaven moved unseen, turning fear into freedom, and sorrow into salvation.